Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Spiritually Bougie Astrology, and we're going to be taking a deep dive look at this new moon in Leo. This is a new moon squaring Uranus, while Uranus is in a trine to Mars, and it's going to be a bit of a hot mess. It's going to be a lot, guys. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I have already actually tried to record this once before, but I had some interruptions. Life is interesting. Anyways, we got to take a look at where we're going in this new moon. Now, we also need to take a big effect and take a look at what has just occurred. This is a new moon in Leo. This is a new moon while the sun is perfecting the square to Uranus. The square to Uranus actually perfects when Tuesday night, the 15th, sorry. Tuesday evening, but the new moon will happen over the course of the overnight, going into the next morning. This new moon immediately has a bit of a disruptive energy because it goes sun square Uranus, new moon square Uranus, and then the trine from Mars to Uranus. Erratic things are tied to Uranus. Erratic, independent, spontaneous, sudden, unexpected, epiphany energies. A lot of people are going to have energies tied to an awakening and breakthroughs that are going to start to come through. Other people are going to have very exciting, sudden shifts and changes in both good and bad ways. Uranus doesn't necessarily mean always a good thing, and it doesn't always necessarily mean a bad thing, but it does always represent sudden shifts. Shifts in our independence, fighting independence, so like anarchy can very much be a Uranus quality. But when I was meditating on this, I got a few different songs, and for some it was very specific to sign, and for some of you I will literally tell you that sign when we get to it. But the one that came through this morning was a song I think a lot of people have heard before. Think of the Toy Story movie, the first one. Strange things. Strange things are happening to me is the main thing that I kept hearing. And I went back and I rewatched like the little video tied to that. So you can look that up on YouTube if you want to. But it shows the scene of the movie, and basically it's the transitional scene where Woody goes from being the number one toy and all of the decor in the bedroom is cowboy to Buzz becoming the number one and becoming the new favorite. And all of the bedding and all of the decor and everything turns into Space Ranger. We want to be like Buzz. We want to do this new thing. We're so excited. For some people, the new moon square Uranus is going to be like Buzz. Everybody's so excited that we're here and everybody loves us and it's so much fun. However, not everybody is going to like Buzz because Woody at first did not like Buzz. For some people, this new moon is going to be Buzz and all the buzz around Buzz. I know, I keep saying Buzz. For some people, this new moon is going to bring out Woody. The jealousy aspect of Woody, those negative inclinations that started to come through, the shadow and the underbelly, we're going to see the sparks of jealousy. That is emphasized by the trine to Mars. Now, whatever is coming through for a lot of people, I don't feel like it's going to be as unexpected as one would initially think, only because of what transits have occurred in the last week going into this new moon. Venus squared Uranus last week. Venus squared Uranus specifically between the 12th and the 13th. No, the 9th and the 10th, sorry. That's whenever we had the Venus square Uranus. Between the 12th and 13th, so bumping it a few more days, we had the Venus Cazimi. which was loosely in a square to Uranus. However, now the sun is perfecting the full square. That again happens late on the 15th, early on the 16th, depending on your time zone. And then literally within an 8-hour span, the new moon will perfect. There will be a series of sudden events or a series of things that start to play out that we've been anticipating for some time, but didn't necessarily have a time stamp in mind. Sudden shifts, spontaneous shifts, big shifts for people this week. But it's not just this week. It's kind of the entire moon cycle following the new moon. This is a new moon squaring Uranus. Over the month ahead, the lunar month, so new moon to new moon, Uranus is going to turn retrograde. I said this back at the Aquarius full moon. I'm saying it again now. That Aquarius full moon was in Uranus's sign. And I said then, like, there is an energy of completion. Something unexpectedly completing, something unexpectedly falling off of our plates. However, just as much as something will unexpectedly fall off of our plates in this time span, so too will a new thing come through. And that is meant to occur over this lunar month ahead. So the new moon to the new moon. The next new moon, the one that we're going to have in Virgo on September 14th, will be in a trine to Uranus. So literally right now, where Mars is at, that's where the new moon is going to be a month from now. So the entire cycle has a Uranian imprint that is going to instigate shifts in very fixed areas of our life. Now, there are a couple of dates I want to go over. And there is a Mercury retrograde video coming. I have it scheduled already for Thursday morning. It's going to go out then on the 17th. And that one, you'll have like the dates and you'll see the full aspects of the chart there too. This new moon kind of ties into that. But this new moon, I'm going to break it down now by ascendant. So a lot of the things that I'll talk about with this new moon, I will also bring up parts of the Mercury retrograde and how this Venus retrograde is going to close out, because both of their energies are a part of the hyperactive energy. Now, I have been saying since the nodes have changed signs, since the Venus retrograde started, so since the week of July 17th to July 22nd, that we're in a hyperactive energy. When the Mercury retrograde hits, that will amplify. However, we're a week until that Mercury retrograde hits. It's not even this week. It starts next week. It's going to start on the 23rd. And that's one of the very first dates I want to bring up of the lunar month ahead. So we have the new moon happening 15th and 16th, depending on your time zone. We have the new moon. Then we have Mercury retrograde. There will be a large amount of energy that plays out August 22nd and August 23rd. The 22nd has other transits in mind that I'm not going to bring up, but the 23rd is the start of the retrograde. So those two dates are going to stay together. The Uranus retrograde is going to start on August 28th, and it's going to last until January 27th. So we have 5 months of Uranus being retrograde. When Uranus turns, there's been an area where we've either been dependent on someone for so long where things will reverse and independence will have to kick in, or we have been hyper independent about a certain topic or a certain area for so long that whenever Uranus turns retrograde, we're not going to be allowed to be independent in that area anymore. Things change. Strange things are happening. That's a part of the energy. Okay. Venus's retrograde will end on September 3rd. 24 hours later, Jupiter's retrograde will begin on September 4th, and Jupiter will be retrograde from September 4th to December 30th. I'm going to add an extra layer to the Jupiter part. Jupiter retrograde will start during a Mercury retrograde, but that Mercury retrograde is going to be in Virgo. Jupiter's retrograde will end during a Mercury retrograde, and at that time, that Mercury retrograde that starts in Capricorn will have went back into Sagittarius, and it will be in Jupiter's sign. So the transitions of the Mercury retrograde, this one and the next one, directly impacts Jupiter. Just so you guys are aware. Take some notes on that. Because I will be bringing up some of this Mercury retrograde shenanigans in that time span. And that's not happening until December, but I'm still telling you that now. Okay. The full moon in Pisces, which is Jupiter's sign, happens on August 30th. So right before Jupiter will turn retrograde, right after Uranus turns retrograde. And then, of course, the new moon in Virgo is going to trine Uranus. And what I think is really interesting is day one of Virgo season is the start of Mercury retrograde. Within 24 hours of the new moon perfecting, like the new moon's going to happen real late on the 14th, and then the next morning on the 15th, Mercury retrograde will end. Like that's how that flows. So there are definite elements to this energy that are going to stay continuous all the way through. They're going to be a continuous flow of transition, a continuous flow of change, a continuous flow of bridging things into eclipse season. Because that will be the next shit show we go into is eclipse season. I actually don't feel like eclipse season can be a shit show, but I'm just referring to everything right now as a shit show. It's just how I feel. Anyways, okay. Uranus and all the energy tied to it, Uranus and everything that he's messing with and everything that he's dealing with. I also have to really emphasize what Uranus rules in your chart. Now, Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius. That's where our last full moon was back on August 1st. When we get close to the Pisces full moon, that's going to happen in 2 weeks. There will be elements from the last full moon that will come back up because the change of Uranus, like literally Uranus goes retrograde 3 days later, we have another full moon. Uranus will go retrograde while the moon is in Aquarius. We will be bringing things back around that started in that full moon from before into the next one. I feel like that Aquarius full moon that happened on August 1st and the things that have rolled since then have all been a reflection of where changes needed to be made. And it was almost like a showcasing of the example of where these fixed areas of life must change and transition. Oh. Virgo season's a transition season this year. I didn't say that in any of the other, I didn't say that during Pisces season. Pisces season had changes, but not because of the way I'm saying it. And I didn't say this during Gemini season, but Virgo season for sure, it is about transitions and change. We are not going to be 100% on the same page with the same people anymore. Some of the people that we have thought were on our side, we're going to realize just how much they were not on our side. Others, we're going to see the breakthrough, the awakening. And Uranus's energy is really meant to emphasize different levels of awakening. If you've never listened to an episode where I go over the moon cycle before, whether the new moon or full moon, I do everything based off of the ascendant. So this is kind of the directions right now. I read from a whole house perspective. There are other systems out there for people that are not familiar with astrology, because I've had such a large private base before I did this publicly. Basically, when I'm comparing systems right now, like there's one called Placidus, there's a bunch of others, but the two I'm going to use for example right now is Whole House and Placidus. Whole House is Xbox. Placidus is PlayStation. Some people only want to play the PlayStation, some people only want to play Xbox. That's the concept. The way I read is Whole House. I'm still saying Xbox, but the Xbox example is gone. Anyways, Whole House. I don't care if your ascendant is at 2 degrees or at 25 degrees. Actually, if I pull up the chart right now, it's at 24 in Aries. So I don't care what degree your ascendant is at as far as I'm concerned. That entire zodiac sign is your first house. I was actually not taught to read this. I know this is the more popular way to do it now. This is the way that I started reading whenever I was a kid because of the placements of my own chart. So this is the way I've always done it. So again, I don't care if it's at 2 degrees or 24 degrees. This entire zodiac sign is your first house, and every numerical house that follows is now associated with the next zodiac sign. So for Aries and Aries rising, we are talking about a new moon in your 5th house of love, luck, romance, joy, happiness, children, childlike behavior, people acting like children. A lot of Aries risings, yourselves, y'all been acting like kids, just big old kids. I want things my way. I want them to go this way. And you can't tell me no because it's going to hurt my ego. And then I'm going to do other things that I don't need to do. Many Aries risings, the shift in your luck is about to be impactful to your finances. Whether good or bad, the impact will lean towards your finances. If you have felt like everything over the course of the last month has been going against you during this Venus retrograde, then after this Cazimi and after the new moon squaring Uranus, that's when you're going to feel like luck is suddenly on your side. That's majorly emphasized by a turnaround in your clients. So again, if things have been going really, really well, you might see a disruption and things are suddenly not going to go well. For others, you're going to see the opportunity or gain the opportunity to get a different option, to have more things going on, to do something different in your routine, and you're going to be able to make an adjustment. For many of my Aries risings, the disruption to health, the disruptions at work, the disruptions in the routine, the disruptions that's gone on with your coworkers, they've all put a certain amount of pressure on you. Pressures in your public image, pressures on your career. There have been a lot of trust issues, and the thing is you're sick of the issues. They've disrupted everything. They've disrupted your wellness. They've disrupted your well-being. They've disrupted your career. They're disrupting your home life. You're sick of the disruptions. And a big portion of you being able to get things lined back out and to no longer have the fear of repercussions coming back at you. You're going to have to put yourself in other people's shoes. You're going to have to put yourself in other people's situations. You're going to have to take the lumps. In a lot of ways, you're going to end up taking lumps, especially if you are like the independent Aries risings and y'all have like contractors that work underneath you and they have been fluffing off on the job, or if your coworkers have been creating issues for you. Some of you are going to have to take a moment to eat crow. And you're going to have to deal with whatever has been going on that you aren't even aware of. Some of you are having to deal with, somebody else's lies, somebody else's shit. It's putting pressure on you. The big thing that I got to say for Aries risings right now is when somebody brings a complaint about you, put yourself in the other person's shoes for a moment and try to understand. If you can't find a way to understand them, then you're going to have more issues. My fear for a lot of Aries risings is that the turn in your luck, so to speak, is going to result in legal issues, court filings. That's with the South Node going through your 7th, that's not in your favor. Now, if you're trying to wrap up certain legal matters that have been going on for a while, that can go a little bit better for you. However, for a lot of Aries risings, you've had so many things going wrong at work unexpectedly that you're going to have to eat the crow, put yourself in the situation of your clients, beg for forgiveness in some ways, and then you're going to have to do the things to set that situation straight, or else there's going to be that other level of repercussion. If things have been going slow forever and now all of a sudden everybody is ready to buy at the same time, everybody's ready to do something at the same time, or you have a friend that ends up giving you like the right connection to be able to get a different job, to take on new work, to take on a new thing, that's on the horizon too. This new moon for you guys is a shift in your luck. If it has been going good, then you're going to start to get tested. If it has been going bad, then things are likely to shift in your favor. But there's definitely a flip in the energy very quickly. That flip is going to require changes in your routine and a lot of effort on your side. That doesn't mean that you're not capable. Do whatever's necessary to overcome the hardships that you've had going on for a while. Okay. For Taurus and Taurus risings, guys, I need a drink. I'm sorry. Allergies are not my friends. No, I'm so sorry. Anyways, your determination is changing. Little things have been popping up nonstop. Issues with your friends, issues with your romantic partners, issues with the hospitals, issues with you and your health, and so many things have been hitting you in a couple of different ways that you're just sick of it. For you to have certain things in regards to where you're wanting your career to go in the future, how you want things to progress moving forward, how you want things to go for your family moving forward. A lot of you guys are going to have to take on a certain level of independence. And that means cutting a lot of people out of your life. Uranus is in your 1st house. The new moon is in your 4th house of home, life, and family, while Mars is in that 5th house of love, romance, joy, happiness, and children. For some of you guys, you're going to have to cut out your friends for a lover. For some of you, because your lover is throwing a fit, you have to cut out your friends, or vice versa, because your friends have really showed that level of responsibility and like put that mirror in front of your face. You're realizing you have to cut out a romantic partner. Like you've had a friend show you just this. For some of you, the connections with your friends and the friendships is impacting kids. Now, this can go a couple of different ways. The Venus retrograde in your 4th house of home, life, and family. Many Taurus risings are in the process of moving. You've just moved, you're about to move, and the kids aren't happy. They're changing school districts. I want my friends. You'll make new friends. I don't want new friends. Parents, please understand that for you, moving is no big deal because you've done it so many times over your life, over your entire life. However, if you have been the stable version of yourself, which I know how Taurus risings are, if you have been the stable version of yourself and you've only been in this one house for the last 15 years with your kids, and now all of a sudden you're moving. This is their most disruptive environment change they've ever had. They're going to act out. That's very infuriating for them. That's frustrating for them. When you completely change environments, there's going to be acting out. When your kids are in an environment where things are going crazy, then they're going to start to mimic the behaviors. Venus is your chart ruler and Venus is retrograde. I'm saying that behavior apart because some Taurus risings are going to realize it's their behavior that's impacting the kids. It's been your decision that's impacted the kids. It's been your real life situation and whoever else it was tied to that has now impacted the kids. Not every Taurus rising has kids, and I know that. I realize that. But a lot of Taurus risings, you are bringing home kids for the first time. You are changing the environment and it's creating an issue for your kids, or people that has been in your environment that have been creating stress in your environment. You can actually start to see how that stress is impacting your children. Whether that is a romantic partner, whether you're going through a divorce and we're having to, create a new place for roots and ancestry with this Venus retrograde. I feel like a lot of Taurus risings, you have either just moved and you're trying to get set up, or you are thinking that it's the right time to move because too many people have shown their asses and you are ready to be rid of all of them because Uranus is in your first. Many of you are going to be looking at making changes at home so that way you can maybe work from home or do more things in your business from home. Many Taurus risings are taking on a very independent nature, and that's a good thing. But the more independent you become, and the more you are forced to become independent, whether this has been a choice or not, the more you start to realize who's on your side and who isn't, who is for you and who isn't. So a lot of Taurus risings, you're not just changing the home life, you're not just renovating the house, you're not just making little changes in regards to, nesting or denesting, but some of you are clearing other people out so shine can happen, so stability can occur. You're going to be clearing a lot of people out. People that you thought were your friends for a very long time, you're going to realize very quickly that they weren't. Be aware of certain levels of trust coming back to bite you right at the beginning of that Mercury retrograde. So again, August 22nd and 23rd. Okay. For Geminis and Gemini risings, this is a new moon in your third house, squaring Uranus in your 12th. Many of you are making decisions or dealing with certain decisions and situations that have already occurred that are potentially impacting your independence. Uranus in the 12th, with Jupiter in the 12th, can either be something very, very spiritual, or it can be recognizing that there are things that have gone on behind your back. There's an element of things going on behind your back right now. Geminis, what happened during that Mars retrograde last year? Mars entered Gemini August 20th. It was there until March 26th. I think it was the 26th. Yeah, it was like 7 months and a week. Not quite 8 months, but it was a lot. The retrograde was from October 30th to January 12th, I think is what the date was. Think of that time span. Think of August to March. Think of what happened in November and December. parts in that first 2 weeks of January. Think of where that energy was and the decisions that you made in that time span. 8 months is a long time span. And I am talking about an 8-month time span here. August to March. What decisions did you make? What changes have you made? What little things occurred during that time? Mars and this Mercury retrograde in Virgo is going to rehash some of that timeline, but it's taking it to the next level. Many Gemini risings, you guys made certain decisions in your career and now you're having to move. That's okay. That's a good way for this to play out. However, for others, you're starting to realize that some of the decisions that you made, you didn't have a full understanding of everything. You didn't have a full way to measure the situation, a full way to understand everything that had been presented. You were being forced in some ways to make a decision in a certain amount of time. And after that decision was made and that force pulled away, which would have happened in July, when that force pulled away. When that force pulled away and went into the other direction, you had more time to sit and stew and think and overthink. And many Gemini risings with this Venus retrograde energy, you are understanding that maybe some of the decisions that you made back then weren't the right decisions. Maybe the decisions that were made back then has led you to a situation now that you weren't meant to be in, or you don't feel like you were meant to be in. You feel like you've been placed in a situation that you're nearly stuck. You've been blindsided with certain facts and certain situations coming full circle. The cutoff game is about to be very, very real for many Gemini risings. Uranus in the 12th heavily emphasizes that. We have to break away from people that disturb our peace. We have to end and sever communication with very specific individuals. And in your case, I feel like some of the individuals that you guys are going to be cutting ties of are your family members, people in your home life. Even if it's just a temporary breaking of ties, there is a separation involved. There's a cutting out involved because there's too much pressure on where you're wanting things to go in the future, how you take certain steps forward. And many of you Gemini risings, you realize some of the decisions that have been made over the course of the last year. So literally since August of last year. Maybe you made those decisions for the wrong reasons. And now you're dealing with the repercussions of that. This Venus retrograde is making you rethink so many commitments and decisions. And the thing is, you're about to start cutting some people out, cutting them off, rethinking your home life, rethinking your family life, rethinking your commitments, and leaving certain obligations and commitments behind. That's even more emphasized by the fact that Jupiter, the ruler of your 7th house of marriage and relationships, is in the 12th. There's a lot of things that are going to get left in the past. That can be a good thing. But for some of you, especially if you weren't necessarily the most honest during the Mars retrograde or during the last eclipse season, some of y'all are going to be the ones left behind. Kind of depends on where you're at in your personal karma. Okay. For Cancers and Cancer risings, creativity, the things that you've been saying, the people that you've been socializing with, they have felt so good and so right. However, there are some financial matters at hand that need to be dealt with. This Venus retrograde in your 2nd house of money has been really testing the finances, and many of you are wanting to make a change. That change is either taking on a new job, launching something already in your job that is going to take a heavy amount of marketing and communication and branding. Many of you are going to realize that you're going to have to step some things up financially because of how much of a negative impact your partners are going through. Now, on the chart right now, I don't have Pluto, but you do have Pluto in the 7th. I took some of the planets out, so it was a little clearer as to which ones we were working with. But you guys have had Pluto back in your 7th house, bringing back certain fears and frustrations and struggles whenever it comes to certain commitments. Not every commitment, not every relationship is horrible. But if you've been in a place of fear tied to relationships and the things that feeling like things will never work out for you in a relationship, this is temporary energy. Pluto's trying to get done with this area. Pluto's trying to wrap up his stint. He started in Capricorn in 2008. He is trying to get done with the Capricorn phase. However, he only did a pinky toe dip into Aquarius earlier this year. He was only there for a few months. He's backed up to wrap up some things. Unfinished business, unresolved fear, unresolved trauma. Some of you are having to step up because you're seeing something in your partner. Some of you feel like you are only ever going to have the ability to rely on yourself because everything's always going wrong whenever it comes to partnerships. Whether that's a romantic partnership or a business partnership, there always tends to be issues with a partner. We have to overcome those. We have to get through those. Understand that whatever commitments come through, whatever new thing comes through you in regards to finances, in regards to assets, most likely is going to be an opportunity that comes full circle from somebody else. It's going to be an opportunity that helps a friend, or it's going to be a friend that gives you this new opportunity, letting you know that something else is about to come through. If you've been working for a friend, what you might realize is within a month or so, you're not going to be working for them anymore. Whether that's by choice or forced upon you, that's a different scenario. Some of you are going to have a new opportunity to get your finances in order, to get career things in order, but that is immediately going to disrupt another area. It's going to disrupt your commute. It's going to disrupt your communication. It's going to disrupt part of your creative process. The limitations will be involved. It doesn't mean that the opportunity isn't the right one, but there will definitely be a limitation placed in another area based off the opportunity that comes through over the course of the next lunar month. Financial things have not been easy for you guys. Many of you, some of your financial issues are very much wrapped up in a legal matter, and Pluto back in the 7th is putting pressure on a legal situation. If that has been the area of pressure, what you could find over the course of the next month is that, again, you have help coming in from somebody unexpectedly. The person in your tribe, the people that are meant to come full circle to get you through this moment, are most likely the ones that you are not anticipating will help you. You are not anticipating will turn something around. Okay. For Leos and Leo risings, tests, frustrations, betrayals, so many things that require healing, so many things that have just not gone your way and have just put constant pressure and turnaround and frustrations on you. This last week, there was the opportunity, a sudden opportunity, to find peace, to find clarity, something that was very unanticipated. But the results were mind-blowing. Something unexpectedly came through between the 9th and the 10th. This allowed for a bit of a rebirth in your energy whenever we had the Venus Cazimi over the weekend coming into this new moon. That Venus Cazimi in your first house was meant to level up your energy, level up the ego, level up your identity, who you are, how you shine, what you're meant to do in this world. And a lot of what's meant to happen for the Leo risings right now is to gain independence. For you to truly gain and have the next phase of your life go the way that you're wanting, to have that level of independence that you've been desiring for so long, for you to get that, there's some things that have to be put to bed. And for a lot of Leo risings, it's going to be financial. There are dissolutions of partnerships. There's disruptions in your routine. There have been secrets that have been coming to the surface little by little. And whether it has been secrets or whether it has been legal obligations and legal matters, whether it has had to do with, abuse or substance abuse or addiction matters, no matter what, the way to overcome the next part for a lot of Leo risings is going to be requiring y'all to pay it off. Pay for silence, pay for the full experience, pay out and settle and try to get some things cleared out, so that way the things that have been keeping you from obtaining what you desired can finally turn around. However, if you've been super independent for so long and you've done everything on your own and you didn't feel like you would ever have to rely on anyone else because you are a one-man show, something recently has shown you, you can't be a one-man band, a one-woman band, a one-person band. It doesn't work in the full spectrum. There is cohesiveness and there is community for a reason. Very few people can be completely self-sustained, either because we have to create a product that requires, clients, it requires selling them. There's some aspect of our lives that we can't just be the ultra independent. And what's meant to happen over the next month ahead, and what has recently been coming to the surface and showing you, is that if you have been ultra independent, it's not going to remain that way much longer. In some ways, you're going to have to let go of that independence because somebody needs your help. Somebody needs assistance. Somebody needs some level of adjustment, and you have the ability to help provide that. Whether that's in your career, whether that's in your relationships. If you have had a large amount of independence over the course of the next month, that will start to fade. If you haven't had a large amount of independence, if you haven't had a lot of things going for you for a long time, you're going to see that breakthrough, and you're going to see the shift, and you're going to see the opportunities coming through. But some of those opportunities are going to cost you money. Whether you are paying somebody off or paying for the event, whatever it is, there's going to be some parts of the next month that are going to cost you money. Okay. Moving this along, we're going to get to Virgos and Virgo risings. You are determined in a lot of ways, and that's a wonderful thing. Mars in your first has made you guys really take steps forward. But the problem is, with everything else that's been going on in the chart, it's made you erratic. It's made you dangerous. It's made you infuriating for a lot of people. Virgo risings, some of y'all have been some assholes. Just plain and simple. You've been too hot-headed. You've said something to your own detriment. You keep saying things to your own detriment and you have no idea that you're doing them. I wish there was a way to make that easier, but it's true. Like, many of you all don't even realize you're doing it. Mars in your first is making you a little erratic. The Venus retrograde in your 12th has brought up all of the insecurities, every bit of your wounds, every bit of your past trauma, all of these things that need to be healed. For some of you, it's been through a series of very forthright and physical events, tangible events, actual events. I'm saying that because I want you guys to understand that some of the things that have played out have not just been some type of internal light bulb. It has been an actual physical event. Many of you are trying to relive your past, and you're trying to get back into some place that you haven't been in a long time. What you guys need to realize, though, is if you're trying to go back to a place that you haven't been tied to in a long time, one of the things that has occurred while you have been gone is it too has changed. That place has changed. That area of your life has changed. It is not the same. The way things went before will not be the way things go now. Things have changed. What many Virgo risings are about to enter is a purging. And I've been warning you guys of this for months, and I'm saying it again. Virgo risings, you have been on the verge of a dark night of the soul. You have been on the verge of needing to cleanse and clear your spiritual palette. Mercury is your chart ruler. Next week, when Mercury turns retrograde in your first house, things tied to the way that you express yourself, your identity, your ego, the way that you have been behaving, your actions, and the things that you have said and or done, those are going to get represented to you, specifically between the 22nd and the 23rd. Something is going to be presented to you, and you're not going to like how the conversation goes with Mars opposite Neptune, that makes you realize how much you have to do a slow change. The slow change doesn't have to be horrible. For some of you, it's going to be something that you want to resist, and you're going to not necessarily like the things that get presented to you. You're not going to like the level of accountability that gets thrown at you. And you're not even going to be willing to accept the full amounts of some of that accountability until after Venus turns direct. Not the full-on parts of the Mercury retrograde, but until after Venus turns direct. The things that have been getting triggered, whether internal triggers or through actual physical events, the things that have been getting triggered for Virgo risings has been showing you where you need to level up and where you need to heal and where you need to let go of old habits and old behaviors and old situations tied to your ego. Anything that we try to do for attention is backfiring on us for a reason. That Venus retrograde is why. We have to clear certain things out. But a lot of the clearing for Virgo risings is internal. There is healing, there is overcoming, and there is a large amount of new energy that is meant to come through. You guys won't experience the full benefit of a lot of the new energy for yourself until after October. It's actually in October. October 8th, 9th, right when Venus goes into your first. You're not going to feel the fullest extent and the full effect of what is meaning to transform in you and heal within you right now until eclipse season. You're not meant to expect it. But the big thing that Virgo risings should really anticipate right now is a purging. Selling things off, clearing them out, letting things go. It's not spending money. It's getting rid of things, and you have ways to make money that way. But there's a purge energy coming through, an energetic purge and a physical purge. If it's the physical purge, though, I think it all has to do with your assets and releasing things and letting things go. Some of you are going to get an opportunity to go somewhere different, to move somewhere, even for a job. And that opportunity is what's going to result in the purge. It's going to result in you having to figure out what's worth moving, especially if you're moving to another state, and what's not worth moving. But for Virgo risings, there is both a energetic, spiritual cleansing, as well as a physical, tangible purging. We're clearing things out, clearing out old attachments, things tied to the old cycle and the old way of doing things. So the next round and the new opportunity that's going to come through can come through. Okay. For Libras and Libra rising, sorry, I needed a drink again. This is a new moon in the 11th house of friends, network, colleagues, people that we choose to be around. However, Venus is our chart ruler, and Venus is retrograde in that 11th house. So this isn't necessarily a new beginning with a new friendship. In fact, for many Libra risings, it is realizing you don't necessarily know who your friends are. It's realizing that their energy isn't necessarily right for you anymore. It's recognizing those bad habits and those bad behaviors and the bad situations that they constantly put themselves into. And more, whether it is your actual friends or it's your coworkers, it's your clients, the more you start to feel standoffish and start to separate and pull back, the more they take offense to it. The more they start to behave differently, and the more they'll start to show their ass. Parts of this new moon and parts of the Venus retrograde that we're in right now is meant to show you that some of the people that are around you are a part of the old ego. It is a part of the old parts of yourself. You've now had the South Node going through your first house for 1 month. 1 month of the 18 months the South Node will be there. You're realizing somebody that you need to let go of. An old friend, an old coworker, an old connection. It could actually be your full-on career that you need to let go of. And that again is going to mean losing clients or not having the same kind of relationship. Feeling like your position has been phased out. There's changes afoot within the company, but where does that leave you? Some Libra risings are going to feel betrayed. And that is emphasized by Mars in your 12th house. However, as more things start to unfold in the weeks ahead, the more irritated you're going to become. And once Mars enters Libra, which is going to happen before the end of the month, once Mars enters Libra, your energy and your attitude is going to change. And you will become more determined, and you're going to become more forthright. And the thing about Libra risings, I've said this before, is a lot of Libra risings, like, they don't necessarily like to shake up the pot. They don't like to disturb the balance. Once Mars enters Libra, babies, y'all going to disturb the balance. Because you're sick of being used. You're sick of the lies. We're sick of the tension. We're sick of the frustrations. We're sick of feeling like things have been going on behind our back. And once that Mercury retrograde in your 12th kicks in, you're really going to see those things that are going to fall away. You're going to understand those things of letting them go. Every time somebody shows their ass, you'd be like, cut you out and cut you out and cut you off and not dealing with this. That'll be a big part of the energy. Now, not a lot of you have a whole lot of people that you're willing to cut out. Sometimes it's not a matter of a bunch of people. Sometimes it's a matter of a bunch of situations around one. For others, the adjustment is going to be around career. I always associate clients with the 11th house. If you have had different opportunities coming through, you've been having different conversations with different people about where they're at in their career and what's going on in their life, and some of them have given you ideas of where you can make some changes, even though you didn't necessarily realize that that's what you were shopping for, was ideas. But now you're far more aware that that energy, whenever it was playing out at that time, had a bigger benefit for you. Uranus is in your 8th house. The 8th house is tied to other people's money. I feel like a lot of Libra risings are going to be leaving behind certain obligations and certain partnerships and certain commitments to create new ones, especially once Mars goes into your first. The reason I say that is because Mars is the ruler of your 7th house of partnerships. I feel like once Mars comes into your first, your need to create certain partnerships and make new connections and take a different level of control in your life is going to pick up once Mars enters Libra. I think this is going to be a very, very good energy for you guys, especially whenever it comes to getting things put in motion in September. You got 1 or 2 more rounds of unexpected things coming through to blindside you. Just so you know. Oh, Lord. For Scorpios and Scorpio risings, the song. I was meditating on this because I am a Scorpio rising. So whenever I was meditating on this, not from my personal chart, but actually from the point of the Scorpio rising, there was a song that came through. It's a rap song. Female artist, Princess Nokia. That's her name, Princess Nokia. And the song is called It's Not My Fault. It's not my fault. I'm not going to go into the whole riff of that song. But this is very specific to the Scorpio risings. So much of what happens in this new moon, this is a new moon in your 10th house. This is career, public image, our hopes and dreams for the future. But so much of what comes through with this new moon, it's not our energy. It's not. It's tied to somebody else. Because Uranus is in that 7th house of legal matters and relationships and partnerships. An erratic, sudden change with somebody else immediately impacts your future. If this is something you've anticipated for quite some time, that doesn't mean everybody's going to be happy about it. And that's emphasized with Mars in the 11th. Now, you guys have heard me say this example before. I maintain that for some people, the disruption can be anticipated. If your popularity was to soar, let's pretend everybody's a music artist for just a second. Another fun Scorpio rising is Taylor Swift. She has a lot of fans. She has a lot of people that love her. And she does really well in her artistry, in the way that she creates things. But the thing is, if she was to suddenly have a whole new announcement right around this time, there's always going to be a hater. There's always going to be somebody to be like, because it's her. Oh, because it's that. Something can come together in the next month. Something that you've been waiting for. waiting for somebody to pull their head out of their ass, to turn their shit around, to come back around. And whenever they come back around, their willingness to no longer be as independent from you, because Uranus is in the 7th house, and that allows for something to finally come together for your hopes and dreams for the future. That doesn't mean that everybody's okay with it. Some people will be like, you're back with him? Why are you back together? I don't know. For other people, there's going to be a shift in your relationship that's going to result in your own independence. And that's going to be because somebody else has stepped in. I've actually already seen this with one of my clients. I just realized it. You're noticing a change in your boyfriend's behavior and your significant other and your girlfriend and whoever it is. And because they are not getting their way, they go and try to hook up with your friend. They go and try to do business behind your back. They try to go do something that shouldn't be going on. And it disrupts friendships. But it also changes your perspective of that relationship and how things are going to continue in career and in your public image. The new thing that comes through for Scorpio risings is not tied to their own energy. It is tied to somebody else. It's tied to another situation, another person making a decision that changes how you saw things for the future, but it's also going to impact friendships, clients, relationships with stepchildren. That can also be a part of this. But there's a huge turn that's not even in y'all's ball court. Now, the one thing I will say for Scorpio risings is that a lot of this timeline, we have been the support, we have been the cheerleaders, we've been the one helping other people get their stuff together. We had been tested for far longer, so this energy has felt like it's felt easy. I hate to say it that way, but it's felt way easier to understand and navigate and work through for Scorpio risings than it has been the others. There's a very specific energy that's going to happen right as the Mercury retrograde starts and right before Mars goes into Libra. And parts of this is going to make me sound crazy and a little maniacal, but hear me out. The very last transit of Mars before Mars goes into Libra is going to be Mars in a trine to Pluto. Mars in a trine to our other chart rulers. So it's chart rulers in a trine with one another before Mars changes signs. I think the determination of getting things leveled out, ending certain things, putting things to bed, squaring them out, and putting everything into a new understanding after Mercury retrograde starts and before Mars goes into Libra, those few days, there is a huge awareness of just how much things are going to change. And once Mars hits that trine to Pluto, the understanding is going to be everything that we have done up until this point has been done. It's all up to the other parties now. It's up to them to decide. It's up to you on whether you want to move forward. It is your decision to make. I am absolving myself. I don't give a shit what the outcome is. Good, bad, or ugly. I don't fucking care anymore. It's your stuff now. It's on your plate now. I'm absolving myself of your issues. It's your shit now. It's not my fault. Go listen to the song. You're going to hear those tings of the jealousy, but you're also going to hear those tings of, I'm not responsible for the way other people perceive me. It's their perception. It's their ideas. It's their situation. I'm out. Okay. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius risings, this is a new moon in your ninth house. This new moon is squaring Uranus in the 6th, while Uranus is in a trine to Mars in the 10th. For many of my Sagittarius risings, I feel like a lot of you guys right now are really adjusting the sails from things that go back all the way to August of last year, from the Mars and Gemini timeline. And again, that was August 20th to March 26th. I believe it was 26th. That 8-month time span, August to March, of Mars in Gemini, and all of that strain that it put in all of these different areas. I feel like a lot of things for Sagittarius risings, while Mars has been back in a mercurial sign, because Mars is in Virgo now, has been like signing, finalizing, crossing the I's and dotting the T's of things from that time span. The Venus retrograde in your ninth house, this new moon in your ninth house, has been finding purpose again, regaining your purpose, regaining and finding new hope. The more you go out and experience things, the more you go out and do things, the more restorative the energy has been for you. There is a hopefulness in the air for you. However, there is going to be a bit of a clearing that needs to happen. Certain people, you're going to realize you shouldn't still be trusting, because they have or will continue to feed information, those little check-ins, to your ex, to your old business partner, to somebody that doesn't need to be involved. Somebody has a problem with your name in their mouth. And over the course of the next 2 months, for you guys, I'm going to say 2 months, there is going to be a bit of a cleaning of house. Either one particular friend who has been in your life heavily for a long period of time, you're going to realize is no longer for you, and that one person will go away. Or there will be a series of change outs and a series of events that completely shake some things up. Now, if it's the serious thing, I feel like it's going to be more work related. With Uranus's trine to Mars, it's going to be like another office is opening, so some people are going to relocate to that new location while we hire new people to take on new responsibilities here. And again, that's going to be a big staff change. For some people, there has been opportunity to travel for work, and every opportunity that has come through, I said this back at the full moon in Aquarius video, I'm saying it again here, every opportunity that comes through, you should take it. Because every one of those travel experiences right now, those adventures, whether it's a work-related or adventure or just you going out with your girlfriends all summer, whatever it is, all of those have a restorative element for you and a benefit for you. You just don't realize them yet. Do whatever you need to experience the new things, to take on the new things, to have those new adventures, but understand that there's going to be some issues or disruptions in the workplace that can pop up really, really soon that either creates questions in the home life, because maybe that opportunity is to relocate with the job. And of course, then the kids are going to be like, wait, we're moving? We just moved. What do you mean? We're going to do something different? Or parts of the recent events and the things that are now, coming full circle are going to have a trickle effect, and you're going to see just how that's impacted your kids. And you might be clearing out some of their friends very, very soon. You can't hang out with this kid anymore. You can't do this anymore. I won't allow it. They're not going to like that. but it's going to be necessary. Okay. For Capricorns and Capricorn risings, this is a new moon in your 8th house. The 8th house topically is a financial house. Shared obligations, shared assets, shared accounts, investment properties, stocks, cryptocurrency, anything that's going to have another person tied to it somehow. It's not in your checking account. It's in a broker's account. It's in a shared account. It's got more fingers in the piggy jar. But not everybody is dealing with financial things. For some people, the 8th house is triggering transformation. I feel like that transformation energy is a lot bigger for Capricorn risings than they're realizing, and that's because of the Plutonian energy of Pluto back in your 1st house and the pressure that the nodes had been placing over the last few weeks to that area. Deep-seated fears, deep-seated frustrations, deep-seated internalized things that have been forced to the surface. In many ways, you've been forced to face something in the past few weeks. Some of you expected to face it. Others, not so much. And we feel this need for the change. The Venus retrograde in your 8th house is either creating financial transformation and a financial change, or it's a spiritual transformation, emotional changes. For some of you, the transformation has all been about recognizing your placement. If you've been single for a long time, you are seeing the opportunity for a relationship, or you are making strides towards having a relationship. Because I know what you guys are like. Everything's strategic with Capricorn risings. Like, I want it to go, I want these things to line up a certain way before I have a relationship. That's your ego talking. The way things go, you can't force something to be ready before it needs to be. Some things in our life won't fully manifest to their full potential until the other half of the equation is there. You can't get everything right before the next thing comes through. We can't force everything to go into place the way we want them to before they're meant to. We can only do so much. And then after a while, we have to rely on the other half, bring in the other half, understand the other half. Jupiter in your 5th house is creating growth in elements tied to love, in areas tied to your children. Some of you, your role and what's changing and transforming right now is leveling up from being, mom, dad to grandma, grandpa. Or you're seeing your children are changing and transforming. And what's actually happening is they're going from, the kids that used to live in your house that you bathed and clothed and fed for years, and now they're growing up and saving China and getting married and doing all sorts of stuff. And that's a transition for you too, because their dependency on you is no longer the same. Uranus is going to turn retrograde in this 5th house. If you have had children dependent on you for quite some time and now they're finally going off to school or going somewhere else, you can see shifts in them leveling up. And then part of your energy of Pluto in the 1st is overcoming that fear tied to your identity that they're going to outgrow you. Parents, you're never outgrown. Truly, you're not. If you have been a good parent, then your kids will always come back. If your kids outgrown you and ran off, it's because in some ways, you Saturnian individuals, you're not going to like how I say this, but get over it. In some ways, your overbearing Saturnian ways created the wedge. And understand that not everybody likes having a Saturnian parent. as somebody that has the Saturnian parent, and I also have Saturn in the first, I have been both the Saturnian parent, even though I don't have kids. I'm the oldest of 16. I had a hand in raising them. Or that actual parent. It can be a lot. For you to take new steps forward and have more adjustments and have more peace in the way that you're needing things to go moving forward, not just wanting them, but needing them to go. For you to find your new levels of peace, the transformation energy of Venus needs to continue. It needs to either separate more things between you and another, the division of the retrograde, or it needs to bring more things together. We're all in different phases. So some people were bringing more things together, and this is going to create more harmony in the home. It's going to create certain image changes, especially if you're going from being married for 30 years to single, and that would be in the delusion side. But if you have been you have been single for 30 years and 30 years, and now all of a sudden during this Venus retrograde, you are finding yourself in a certain commitment or connection that is worth you jeopardizing your independence. It's worth the connection. And this too will result in an image change and a relationship change. This will also help you overcome your fears. But whether it's a full-on separation or a full-on coming together or a full-on recognizing your role has shifted, whichever way it's going, you're going to understand by the end of the year why these changes were all necessary. You have a learning experience coming soon with that Mercury retrograde in the ninth. Test to your faith, restorations to your faith and to your hope. Travel can be a big thing. Traveling for your spirituality can also be a big thing. But there is a huge transformation going on for you guys. It's either a spiritual transformation or a financial transformation. Don't fight it. Talk about your feelings, Capricorn. Aquarius and Aquarius risings. This is a new moon in your 7th house of relationships and partnerships and obligations to others. The first house is you and everything having to do with you, your body, your mind, your ego, your identity. But the 7th house is the mirror. It is the opposite. It's everybody else. For Aquarius risings right now, you are getting a very, very different look at other people. The way that they carry themselves, the way that they care for themselves, the responsibility or the lack of responsibility that they take in certain situations. It's been slowly starting to rear its head. Some of you have been watching your partner change before your very eyes, and every time they change, it triggers something. It triggers an old fear, an old wound, an old thing that you didn't even think was going to be an issue anymore. You didn't think that this could still get triggered, but all of a sudden they're hitting it. Every time they're acting out of care, they're hitting that part of you, and you're getting really tired of the trigger. And every time you try to bring it up, it's almost like you're getting gaslit and like, no, I'm not acting this way. You just think I'm acting this way. Boy, girl, whatever you are, don't play. Don't play like that. And don't allow for them to play you like that. Because whether you like it or not, many Aquarius risings are about to have to deal financially with somebody else's drama, with somebody else's bullshit. They've gotten way too heavy on their spending. You're going to see the credit card bill and you're going to get stuck paying the bill. They have not been doing the right things in their business. And whenever it's time for the financials to get looked at before we make this purchase or we do this merger, whenever we start to look at all the nitty gritty, we're going to realize, do you know what a comma is? Do you know this decimal is supposed to have 2 numbers behind it, not 4? What is this? What are we doing? What have you been doing? And it's going to create tension. There's going to be tensions in the household. There's going to be tensions with family. You are going to be stuck dealing with the responsibility of somebody else that you don't necessarily want to deal with. Many of you are trying to wrap up a legal matter, and wrapping up that legal matter will result in a payout, which would be fantastic. But that doesn't mean it's going to be a quick payout. It doesn't mean it's a quick resolution. There are tests to our patience. For many of you, if this has all been about a legal matter, this timeline that you've been going through, the adjustments that have been coming through, that legal matter is not going to play out as fast as you want. There's a couple more things, especially if it's like a divorce situation, a breakup situation, something with that other person. You've already been seeing the flips. There's a couple more that are going to come out. And there's going to be questions in regards to integrity and honesty and whether they have been honest with you. Some have, some haven't. And I feel like a lot of Aquarius risings are going to be paying the price. Quite literally, putting money up, paying for other people's shit, paying off situations, paying off other people. For some people, parts of this Venus retrograde for Aquarius risings, this is just the final legal timeline playing out for events that occurred a year ago or 2 years ago. But we didn't necessarily have the ability, or we were working around things, or we were trying to find a different solution, and the different solution never worked out. And now no matter how we spin it, we have to deal with this in a legal capacity. There's some legal things going on. There's legalities to this situation. And very, very quickly, when that Mercury retrograde in the 8th house flips, we're either going to see just how horrible somebody else's financials are, just how bad their situation really has been, and whether you're going to pay for it or not. Or we're going to see secrets. Secret affairs, mistresses, these levels of situations, those can very quickly come to the surface once Mercury turns retrograde, because Mercury will be in the 8th house, which is also a secrets house. And we won't want to believe them at first. But you're gonna have to. Okay. For Pisces and Pisces risings, this is a new moon in your 6th house. How you care for yourself, how you care for other people. I think it's really interesting that I feel like a lot more of my Pisces risings, even though this Venus retrograde has been in the 6th, the bigger energy for you guys has been Mars going through your 7th house, disrupting obligations, disrupting things in your relationship, making you realize certain aspects of a partner that you hadn't been able to realize before. And very, very soon, whether it's during the new moon or in the weeks following, there's going to be a very specific conversation that I would love to be the fly on the wall for. And it's going to either have to do with a legal matter, it's going to have to do with the lawyer, or it's going to have to do with a significant other or an ex of some sort. and the impact of how certain situations have affected the family, have affected children, have affected the whole spectrum. Many Pisces risings will be moving soon and taking on a new home commitment with that Mercury retrograde in the 7th and the fact that Mercury rules your 4th house of home, life, and family. Many of you are going to be having to move to get away from an old partner and their situation and their attitude and the dangers that they keep putting you into. Saturn in your 1st is making you level up as an individual. Right now, you've been going through an energy tied to old triggers and old things coming through. But the thing is as we get closer to the next full moon, which happens on August 30th, that full moon is going to be one that instigates changes to your identity and allows you to level up as an individual. And the way Saturn will allow you to level up after everything has gone through, and again, that full moon is going to be on August 30th. Saturn will still be retrograde. So parts of the level up will be based off of wrapping up old things, old behaviors, and old decisions. But then once Saturn turns direct, a lot of the energy that will carry from there will be you leveling into that new energy and taking on that new form and that new role and that new part of your responsibility of where you're going to go over the course of the next 29 years, because Saturn takes 29 years to do a full cycle. 29 and a half, actually. I do feel like for a lot of people, when Uranus hits that trine to Mars, Pisces risings, you're going to put somebody in their place. Venus is retrograde in your 6th house of health, how you care for yourself, how you care for others, and in your routine. There's going to be something in the routine that changes. There's going to be something at work that changes, because work can be a part of the routine. But the one thing that I really feel like a lot of Pisces risings have been dealing with is healing their mindset, healing the way that they talk about things, healing the way that you talk about yourselves, self-love. Someone has gave you a fallacy in the way that you think of yourself, in the way that you see yourself. Saturn's not going to allow that fallacy to continue. We're going to overcome that. We are going to let go of old past behaviors, old vices. We're going to realize how we can overcome addictions, or we're going to be the ones helping other people overcome addiction in the weeks ahead. We're going to help somebody else heal a situation in the weeks ahead. Some of us, whenever we tell off a partner with Mars trine to Uranus, when that telling off happens, it's going to be more beneficial than you realize. Now, the initial energy is going to give you relief, but the disruption that gets created in that other person is going to hit deeper than they anticipated. It's going to make more sense than they ever anticipated. And it's going to trigger changes. But not all the changes are going to be positive. Some will be. Some at the very beginning of that Mercury retrograde, and that again starts on August 23rd, the very, very beginning of that retrograde, they're going to get a reality check, a slap to the face, and they're going to understand that I have to make a change. Oh my God. However, there are so many hurt egos going around with Venus's retrograde right now that that's not going to start with an immediate change. In fact, it will, but they'll go to the left, not the right. They're going to get worse before they get better. Oh, you think you can just do whatever you want without me? Well, fine. I'm going to take this and this and this, and I'm going to leave you with nothing. deuces, kick him out, let him go, let him do that. And understand that there can be challenges then to what they have said about you. You might end up defending yourself a couple of times. You might end up having to explain why you made certain decisions at the time that you made them based off of that scenario. Just anticipate the explanations. Just anticipate the turnaround in that other person. Whether that turnaround is based off you telling them off, like I said, or if it's based off of a legal matter, turning the situation around and making something go another direction, that direction flip is going to happen right around the 23rd. It might take a few days for the reality of that to fully set in, but there's going to be a very big turnaround in the story, in the manner, in behavior, in the situation. And some people will take it with stride and immediately turn something around. If they do it too quickly, then they didn't take anything seriously. And by the time Mercury turns direct, you might see the old person come back through. If during the retrograde, they throw a fit, and I'm calling it a fit, by the way, the green-eyed jealousy monster situation, if that turns into them throwing a fit, trying to throw you under the bus, ruin your name and everything else, keep taking the high road. If you keep taking the high road, their shenanigans will only last for so long. And then something will come back to bite them and humble them and chill their shit out. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Anyways. Oh, I actually love the energy with this new moon. I really do. But I also recognize that it's going to bring erratic, spontaneous, sudden, crazy energy. If we have been in a very fixed situation for a while, it's not going to stay fixed much longer. Something that has been a staple for quite some time, that we have been reliant on for quite some time, it's going to change. Whether that has been relying on our ultra independence, you're not going to be as independent. If you've been cohesively tied to someone else, but it's been rocky, when the rockiness is over, you're probably going to be independent. Not everybody's excited for that. Not everybody's going to welcome that idea of change, but it's a necessary change. I'm sorry, I'm not messing with the lighting. This is how many clouds have been rolling through because we've had so much rain in the last week. So every time you've seen like the waves of the color going out, I'm not doing anything. I just have an extra light set up because I knew that the natural light was going to be kind of wishy-washy all day, like it has been. I really do suggest after this video, Thursday, like I said, the Mercury retrograde video will come out. I've already got it recorded. I've already got it scheduled. It will be there. As long as Spotify and YouTube both do what they're supposed to do, they will be there. They're set to go out Thursday morning. Parts of the energy from this new moon and the erratic flip in the conversation, in the communication, in the contracts, in the agreements, in the obligations that we've had, you're going to see more so of that in that Mercury retrograde video. Between now, really, we've already been in this energy for a while, because I said this back at the Aquarius full moon. But basically between now and where we've been and where we're going over the course of the next month and a half, all of this is to restructure and revise things that need to be set straight for eclipse season. And this eclipse season that we go into next, I've been saying this since the last one, will be Venus ruled. This is meant to be a hectic, hyperactive, crazy purging time. It's meant to be this way because people don't follow the transits and they don't follow the energy and they don't recognize that change is being instigated what it is. So they have to keep going through hard lessons before they understand the change has been necessary. And even if we're the type that we understand it up front, we still end up in the waiting game because everybody else hasn't done it up front. So sometimes we're waiting for things to play out because it's not for us that they need to play out. It's for somebody else. And we've been waiting on their energy to catch up and their situation to catch up. There have been a lot of delays, financial delays, physical delays, delays at work, delays in product, delays in certain situations because so many things are getting revised, revamped, purged, released. All of this is very, very necessary to set us up for what's coming next in the next eclipse season. And a lot of those things are even tied as far back as 2021, but that's a different conversation. So anyways, okay. I hope this is helpful. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I'm ready for this new moon and all the erratic energy that's going to come through it because I'm going to be honest, I don't sit still well. I might be a Scorpio rising, but I'm a Gemini sun and I'm a Gemini Mercury. I like a little bit of variety. We can move some things along. I'm okay with the hyperactive energy because I feel like things have been setting for too long, but not everybody's okay with that. If you like your rut, I understand, and this time sucks for you. I can't help that. I'm just the messenger. I am the energetic weatherman. However, for some people, this has been a timeline that they have been waiting for a very, very long time because they're ready for that next phase and that next chapter. And we've been ready because we've been trying to get to it for like 2 years now. For us, this hyperactive energy is very, very welcomed. I'm one of those. But for other people, they weren't ready. If you have known something was going to come together and take shape in a certain way, but you have felt like everything in the universe has been against you, that's because the things weren't ready. Not everybody was ready. Not all the pegs had been moved into the right spot. Not everything was in alignment. There were going to be kinks. We're working out some kinks right now. We're working out some kinks. Okay. I love and appreciate every single one of you. Message me with questions, message me with concerns. If you have questions about getting a reading, I'm telling you guys, I still anticipate. I'm waiting for the disruption. I'm waiting for it. I know it. I am anticipating a disruption. So even if you message me for a reading, I might very quickly be telling you guys that disruptions have occurred. Y'all have no idea how much I used astrology to navigate last year. So, as long as there's not too heavy of a disruption, all the episodes will continue as best as possible. But aside from that, I am getting to the point that I'm limiting the readings that I can do because I know things are coming. So, be patient with me, bear with me. It's coming, but it's coming for all of us, and that's a good thing. So, I love and appreciate every single one of you, and subscribe.